right? We've got only one guy in shipping who can actually handle that spreadsheet, and he's off today. Well, that's a huge bottleneck. How in the world do we do that? And massive portal use. I've seen some crazy things with portal use where
growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to today's webinar. And today we have a very interesting guest, actually two guests we have. And so we are going to talk about ERP-EDI, as well as some funding available for Ontario audience. If you join for the first time, this is the joint series that we organize with our friends. And we have many companies participating in this particular series. We have 2 or 3 different flavors that we have created, one of which is joint. The other is product series, in which we review several different platforms. And then finally, we have the process series, in which we talk about ERP methodology, as well as several different processes in general. If you want to know more about these webinars, the best place would be events and webinar page on elevate.iq.com. You can also subscribe to our newsletter, which sends out a lot of different announcements. So that's probably the best way to get updated. On that note, I'm going to welcome you guys. Hey, Tanya, welcome. Hello, Ellie. Thanks for joining. Tanya, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Tanya Sweet, and I work for Encompass Solutions. And I have been working with ERP and EDI, EDI for much longer, but ERP and EDI together for the last 14 years. And I'm happy to be here to help you work through the automotive fun stuff.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Tanya. Ellie, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Allie. I am the Director of Business Development at Grant Synergy. We're a company of funding advisors that help businesses access, capitalize, and strategically plan for government funding incentives.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Ellie. A little bit about myself. I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know me, but I'm host of WBS Talks, which is the podcast, as well as principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent vendor agnostic technology advisory firm. We help our customers with any sort of technology strategy, technology selection, change management. On that note, let's go back to Tanya. Tanya, I'm pretty sure you are going to have some sort of slides. If you want to start sharing, you can do that.
Yeah.
And in the audience, we would love to hear, from you if you have any sort of questions, comments, experiences that you are able to share. You have 2 options to post them. You can post either in the chat box or Q&A. We generally like to cover them as we go along with the webinar. So don't be shy. Post something, so that we can review that as well. And obviously, you'll have an option towards the end as well. So Tanya, over to you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the great introduction. Thanks for coming today. I just want to talk a little bit about Encompass before we get too far in. We were founded in 2001, and we've been working on an implementation foundation for most of that time, implementing ERP in a vast variety of different companies. We're headquartered in Greensboro, North Carolina. We have more than 40 staff members at any given time. We're privately owned. We have 2 managing partners, and we're primarily manufacturing and distribution focused. And we do have a global presence. So those 40 staff members are all over the globe, which actually helps us in a lot of our implementations when we can have almost 24-hour work teams working around the clock. So that's awesome. We work directly with one ERP, Epicor, We have been a partner with Epicor since 2003 and a value-added reseller partner since 2005. We are a premier Epicor partner. There's tiers of different partner levels, and we are premier. Our consultants are all certified and have gone through the same training and implementation methodology as Epicor employees. And so we do that well. And then we work collectively with Epicor. We are really one team, and we have one single point of accountability. And we're the go-to partner for Epicor Kinetic. So that brings us to our agenda. This is a very high-level agenda. We're going to get into some of the details as we go. What integration driving performance, and then understanding how EDI plays in automotive, where manufacturers are losing time and accuracy. And we're going to assess your readiness for automation and alignment. And then we're going to talk about the funding with Ali. So let's jump right in. Things have changed over time, right? The automotive industry is not the same as it was way back in the 80s. It is a whole new beast in and of itself. And our demands are changing maybe daily. What we need to be sending to our customers, the products, the data behind it, all of the things are constantly changing. Our timelines are changing, and they're much more compressed than they were back in the 80s and 90s when we had all the time in the world and we had all the stock on the shelves and we had all the things were just easy and it wasn't any problem. And then we've moved over the last 20 years to just-in-time models, to more complexity, not just our products being more complex. They were pretty simple back in those early car days. Our cars are way more complex today. And with that comes more complex products, more complex documents that have to go back and forth, more complex requirements and standards. And you have to be certified in this and you have to be certified in that. It's not as easy as it once was. And so that's why having the right infrastructure, the operational infrastructure, your software, matters more than ever. You can't run your business on an Excel spreadsheet or the cheap free softwares anymore, or QuickBooks. Those are out. We can't run effectively businesses on those kinds of softwares when we're in the automotive industry. The olden days of having all the stock on hand are over, and we've got to be way more lean, and we've got to be able to flux at a moment's notice, right? The world is changing every day. Tariffs are showing up recently. That's been a huge thing. There's just so much that we have to just be ready to flux, and we can't be doing that outside of a standardized ERP at all. So where our traditional processes break down, if we're not using automation and ERPs and EDI, we've got humans doing all the work. They're touching everything all along the way. Nothing is flowing seamlessly. It's just a lot of work for humans, and they're disconnected. So customer service is working out of spreadsheets, but of course the shop floor can't work out of spreadsheets. They're working out of CAD auto links, things that are not connected into our ERPs. Their whole engineering process or QA process is completely apart from the ERP or from what customer service is doing if we don't have an ERP. So we've got all these disconnected systems that are not talking to each other. Our efficiency is very, very low, right? We are not doing well. And we can't even see what we're doing, the forest for the trees, right? We have so many things doing so many things. We can't see what they're all doing in one place. And that's where ERP shines, right? It brings all of that together under one roof. And one roof? I don't think ERP has a roof, but under one software.
I have not seen one.
Right? Under one roof. I'm still sticking with that. So integration means you've got to have some system of record, and that should be an ERP. And just in case you don't know what an ERP is, it's enterprise resource planning software. It can do all of the things. It can do the forecasting. It can do the production. It can do the shipping. It can do the financial side, all of the things in one software. And having that is crucial to your success. And more than that, having the right ERP with the right partner that's helping you implement is crucial. If you are just sold an ERP and nobody comes alongside to help you with it, your chances of success are far lower than they were if you used someone who can help you and who is an expert in the field. You don't need to be an expert in ERP on the first day, right? You need people to help you. So you make sure that you're picking the right ERP and the right partner to help you implement your ERP. Then there's EDI, which I'm going to explain that really fast in case you haven't heard of it, right? EDI literally stands for Electronic Data Interchange. And that is the document flow behind all of the documents you need in manufacturing and distribution. So your purchase orders and your shipping notices and your invoices, all of those pieces. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit later. But all of that needs to be automated. It still shouldn't be humans doing all of the work. We still need automation to be doing the heavy lifting, and humans get to do the fun stuff, the relationship building and the answering of the phones and all of that. And when we have all of this integrated under the same roof, I'm sticking with that, y'all. When we have it under the same roof, you've got real-time visibility that's accurate. You're not going, okay, well, this spreadsheet says this and this spreadsheet says that. We've got it all integrated into one place. And our visibility is dramatically increased, and it's accurate, which is key, right? It could be increased and still not be accurate, and that's not helpful. We need accuracy as well. So the business impact, you probably could figure this out yourself. Faster order processing. If I don't have to have my customer service hand entering an order that's 300 lines long and probably takes 20 minutes to enter, maybe longer, I'm going to have fewer errors naturally. She's going to be freed up to work on whatever else she needs to work on, or he. We're not going to have fat-fingered errors. We're going to get the shipping dates right. All of that's going to be automated and accurate. Our visibility increases. We're not going, hey, there's still some papers on Jane's desk that need to be entered. I can't see how many more orders we have because she hasn't entered them. If it's automated, they're already all in, and I can see all of the pieces. And then that, of course, makes our relationships stronger, and it gives people time to develop those when you're not spending all of your time entering orders or updating orders or whatever. So here's just a screenshot or just a visual of what it looks like, right? Before integration, your people are entering it and they're frustrated. We don't want people having to sit and watch their emails. I don't think we fax stuff anymore, but maybe people are still faxing stuff or monitoring portals. Almost every automotive supplier or automotive customer has a portal of some kind, and you can go in there and get what you need. But if you are a supplier to more than one or two of those customers, that is a lot of portal monitoring that we want to not have humans doing. That just takes so much time. They have to notice when something changed. There may be flags, but it still takes humans being intelligent and watching that. And we can take that complexity out of that and automate it. And so once we take it out, right, there's no humans involved. The humans are now only managing the exceptions instead of entering every single detail. Some of the exceptions could be if your customer adds a new warehouse or maybe a distribution center or a new, completely new plant, and we have to start shipping to them. And we forgot to enter that ship to into our ERP. That might be an exception that we see in EDI, just to throw an exception out. Those are the things that our users should be doing, watching for the exceptions, not handling everything every single day. So let's just talk about what EDI is and what it can do in really practical terms. EDI is structured data that's exchanged between partners. And this is not pieces of paper. This is all electronically done. It's replacing your emails, your PDFs, and your spreadsheets, or your fax machines. I'm kind of old, so I'm sticking with my fax machines too. And it's driven by requirements. So there is a standardized rule set that you have to follow for each customer that you have. And it's there, they define those, and you have to work with them. So you don't get to say, rarely do you get to say, I can't provide that information for you. You're going to have to live without it. It's given to you, and you will figure out how you're going to give that information back. So our common automotive transactions are forecasts, which are exactly what they sound like, right? Out for the next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 4 years, anywhere in there. It depends on the trading partner. It depends on the customer. Sometimes the forecasts are also what they actually want you to ship. They aren't going to send a purchase order later. Their forecasts are their requirements and their demand, and you need to ship from that forecast. Some customers use a shipping schedule, which is an 862. I don't have a little picture of it. And that is often goes along with the forecast and says, well, we expect that we're going to need this many, and we want you to ship it on this day. Purchase orders, everyone knows what a purchase order is. Advanced shipping notices, these are key in automotive. You have to get them out and you have to get them on time. This is the document that tells your customer that you have shipped their product. It has gone in these boxes, on this pallet, on this carton, in this truck. Some of them don't want that much detail. Some of them do. And you have to be able to give them all of that detail, which is why you need ERP to keep all that detail organized and coordinated, because if you're trying to do that on a spreadsheet, that's a mess. And then we have invoices, which of course are the payment requests. Hey, could you pay us for the product we just shipped you? And then a lot of them are sending the payment and the remittance advice electronically too. That's the check stub, right? In the olden days when we had a check stub, it says this payment goes for these particular invoices. So those are the common automotive transactions that are being done via EDI. And the reality of the expectations is that when they say you must follow these rules, they actually want you to follow the rules, right? They're not just making up the rules and expecting that that you're not going to follow them. You have to. It's not really a choice. And they want really tight responsive windows. When they change something, they want to know that you changed it and you're going to meet those new requirements. And it needs to be accurate. If they want a shipment to be in their facility tomorrow at 2 p.m., it needs to be there tomorrow at 2 p.m., not tomorrow at 5 p.m., not Friday, but tomorrow by 2 p.m. And we all know why, right? Because if it's not there at 2 p.m. tomorrow, their production lines are going to shut down because they don't have the product to put on the car or whatever piece they're making. It has to be there. So you have to be accurate. And it costs when you're wrong, right? If it didn't get there at 2:00 tomorrow, there's a cost to that. There's some actual costs that show up on your profit and loss or your income statement that literally will show up. These are chargebacks. Customers will charge you when you did something wrong. I've seen charges that cost $100 or chargebacks that are $100. I saw a chargeback that was $10,000. It's not minimal. It is a lot of money and needs to be considered. You don't want to be hitting those chargebacks. Delays, I talked about that just a little bit, right? If it's not there in time, their production line shuts down and that costs them, and that's going to affect you one way or another. Supplier scorecards. Most of our suppliers keep a scorecard even if you don't see it. And we want to keep those scores nice and high, because if we don't, they're probably not going to send any more business to us, or they're probably not going to give us their new line of whatever's that they need, because your scorecard is pretty bad. You might lose your rebates, but the most important thing you're going to lose is trust. And we do not want to lose that once you've lost it in all areas of our lives, right? Not just in business. If you lose trust, it's really hard to get it back. There's some other inefficiencies that are hiding in there that don't necessarily show up as dollar amounts on your profit and loss statements, but they are, right? You've got manual data entry. You're paying someone to sit at a desk and type. Now, and then perhaps just once, but also perhaps twice, we're rekeying it into this system and now into this system, because we don't have one record, one source of truth for our system. We don't have an ERP. So we're rekeying it between multiple systems. And then even more, maybe we're rekeying it into a portal. So now we've rekeyed it 3 times into one system, into another system, and now into the portal. Let the customer know. We might have email-based processes where we are getting purchase orders in an email and someone has to be sitting at their desk to get it. And if they're not there that day, can somebody get into their email and get those orders? Who knows? So our disconnected systems cause limited visibility. I talked about this a little bit at the beginning. If we have EDI outside of our ERP, we've lost a huge piece of visibility. if we don't have an ERP at all, I don't even know how you would have visibility if you're running everything off of spreadsheets. I don't know how that all could tie together and you could see what was happening. You're not getting real-time updates. Real time is important in this industry. If they told us yesterday they wanted 100 of a product, and today they said, you know what, we need 110 because, I don't know, somebody tripped over a box in the warehouse and spilled it. We need new ones, whatever. We need that in real time. We can't be finding that out when Jane in our customer service gets to that email. We need to find that out as soon as the customer knows. So we're missing that. And therefore, we're having reactive issue management, right? Somebody happens to walk by Jane's desk and goes, hey, that has an exclamation point on it. Why haven't you read that? Now we have to react. How do I get those 10 more widgets into this shipment out today to get there by 2 o'clock tomorrow, which they require? And there's a ripple effect, right? When we do have errors, there's rework. If we packed a box with 100 in it and it needed to have 110, somebody has to rip open the box, repack it with 110 in it. We've delayed the shipment. We maybe missed the truck. There's so many possible things that could go wrong. And our manual work is a resource drain. What if we got a really big order that was thousands of lines long and our resource literally can't type it in that fast? That is a problem. So the hidden cost, this is just summarizing all of those things. Time, everybody's time, really. Labor, we're literally paying the labor, the risk, and the loss of scalability, which is huge. If you cannot manage what you already have on your plate today, how can you add a new customer tomorrow? You can't, because you just can't. There's not the resources. There's not another sheet on your spreadsheet, another line that can be added, right? You've lost a ton in that. And so when do I think it's time to modernize and start integration? Well, certainly, if you're working in the automotive space, you need to be on an ERP and have everything on one roof, under one roof, not spread across multiple things. And even if you have an ERP, you want to make sure you're using it at its full capacity and you're not still running multiple systems. I still have my inventory on a spreadsheet because I don't trust my ERP. There's so many pieces there. So let's have an ERP to begin with. And then we might need to automate and integrate our EDI when our order volume is increasing and our humans can no longer go out to portals. They can't get it done. There's just too much. We might have growing requirements and that we're now shipping them 7 different lines of product instead of just 2. We might have to suddenly give them more information. They need to know the license plate of the truck going out. Well, there's a lot of pieces that might be growing and be required that you can no longer manage. You can have internal bottlenecks, right? We've got only one guy in shipping who can actually handle that spreadsheet and he's off today. Well, that's a huge bottleneck. How in the world do we do that? And massive portal use. I've seen some crazy things with portal use where a customer service person has like 17 tabs open on their browser, and they're just constantly clicking between them, trying to manage all of the changes that have come in or to find out some more information that could have just already been in their ERP and they could have looked on a dashboard and been done. So the gaps in this that we see is a little bit what I've talked about already. The underutilized ERP. ERP is generally massive and it can do every piece of your business, but people don't use it that way. They just put it in for the basics, low level, easy order entry and maybe inventory, but their financial stuff is somewhere else, or their engineering is somewhere else. Use the ERP how it was built to be used. Make sure that you've got your methods of manufacturing and your build plans and your QA processes and workflows all in one centralized record. We talked a little bit about the requirements growing. We're being required to do more, and we should be using our ERP to do that. The internal bottlenecks and the massive. This slide looks similar to the last slide. What does good look like? So good is automated order flow. That's the beginning of all the things, right? Is your orders. And if that's automated, and as soon as your customer creates an order, it is in your ERP, that is beautiful. It didn't have to go through an email. Someone didn't print it out, put it on their desk, put it in a pile, and eventually get to it. It's automatically within minutes of them creating it on their side, it has made it into your ERP. That is what good looks like. And now we're only managing the exceptions. We are not managing every single order every single day. We are managing they decided to buy a new part number that doesn't exist, or they just put in the wrong part number that doesn't exist. They've added a new warehouse. They have changed the price on their PO for some unknown reason. Those are the things that the humans need to manage. Everything else should be automated. And now all the teams can see all the things at all the same time. When the orders are in PDFs sitting on Jane's desk, I don't think my engineering team can see that, right? They don't know what's coming down the pipeline. Some huge custom project is coming. They don't know about it until Jane has a minute to enter it. When we've got automation, that is all off the table, and everybody can see everything all the time, which is super helpful, right? Are we ready literally ready? Do we have the right technology? Do we have the right ERP? Do we have the right EDI process, tools, software, all the things? Do we have our processes ironed out? Do we know what we're doing? Do we know how we're going to ship this? Do we know that this has to be in this kind of a box for this particular customer? Do we know that our shipping people know how to pack it? Does it have to have extra packaging? What all the things? Do we know all those processes? And then do we have the people who know how to make it work? Most of the time we have the people, it's the technology and the processes that are missing. And sometimes it's the people who need to come along for the ride that maybe don't want to because they like how they've been doing it forever. But we can do, once those pieces are all in place, then you're ready. And you can get to the maturity model, right? Your capabilities are evolving. And when things like tariffs show up, we don't all panic because we know our ERP and our EDI can handle all of those nuances, and we can make things work fine. When a customer of ours suddenly needs to ramp up production or ramp down production, whichever way it goes, we can quickly pivot and do what they need us to do. Our systems are connected and linked, and we aren't playing this game of, well, hey, did that order make it in yet? Did you get that spreadsheet updated into this other thing that we're doing? We want to make sure all of those are connected and integrated and optimized. And we can, on the fly, add, right? We can grow, we can scale. That's not on my slide. The key takeaway here is you don't need to fix everything at once, but you should know where you stand and where you could go. That's the key takeaway to this whole thing is you don't have to, it sounds overwhelming if you're running everything off of spreadsheets to jump into an ERP. But at least if you know that you should be getting there and what it could look like, right? That's how you're going to actually start moving forward and get there, which is key. Sam, I haven't even stopped to take a breath. Did we have any questions along the way?
I have some questions, and
Okay.
again, in the audience, I have too many questions. Actually, I can fill up the whole hour if you like.
Right.
I always have a million questions, Tanya. Okay, audience, if you have any questions, and again, the best place to put them would be either in chat or Q&A box. So Tanya, from our perspective, I guess, obviously the audience that you have is probably automotive, right? So we want to know a little bit more from the automotive perspective. Generally, based on my experience, based on what I see with different clients, I can relate with what you have shown in terms of where they are in their maturity of their processes, systems, etc. But automotive EDI, in my personal experience, is very different from any other EDIs, right? So what are those unique nuances that automotive supplier, they need to be aware of? Are there going to be specific messaging that they need to know? Because, I mean, obviously there are like probably 1,000 EDI vendors out there, right?
Yes.
But they all are uniquely different. So tell us more about automotive, how it is different, if each of the OEMs are going to have different messages that need to be supported, and how that impacts their buying cycle.
For sure. So yes, all OEMs have their own. Everybody has their own sets of rules, and
Yeah.
everybody has their own documents, and they'll pick and choose what they want. And each document has its own nuances too. So if we just start with a forecast, which is an 830 document, or a Del 4 in a different language, those are the two most common languages. Those some people send them once a week. Some people send them once a month. Some people send them once a day. Some people send them 10 times a day. And how do you manage all of those scenarios? And how does your business run with all of those possible changes? So the ones who are sending it once a day, they're usually pretty similar from day to day, but almost always there's some change, and that's either a date or a quantity. And how am I going to manage those two things? We were supposed to ship this tomorrow, and now you want us to ship it today. I don't know if I can handle that. You wanted us to ship 1,000, and now you want us to ship 2,000, or the opposite, 1,000, and now you want us to ship 100. All of those pieces are very unique to businesses and very unique to each of our customers. Every single one of them has different rules. Sometimes they won't change things, right? Once it's firmed, once they've decided it's a firm order or a firm demand, it doesn't change. But some people change firm things. So firm doesn't really mean firm for them. So, right? Yeah. It just depends. Everyone is so unique and so different. And that's why it's so important to have the right people on your team and the right software that can handle all of those different nuances across all of those different customers and trading partners.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to have one more question. So let's say one thing that you had mentioned during your presentation, that this is probably going to be OEM mandated for the most part, anybody who's going to be part of OEM supply chain. And that's my experience as well. So why do you think, or if you have seen in your experience, that any of the suppliers may not be using EDI, even if it is mandated by OEM? Do they simply bypass
yes.
the requirements? Bypass?
Good question. Yeah. No. So first off, they're using their portal. That's one way. There are other providers out there that have portals that are, so I'm going to say SPS Commerce is one, right? They take everybody's data and put it into their own portal. And so they you can see it there and you can manage it. And as far as your customer knows, you are EDI compliant. So there's a lot of ways to get around it. Some people literally take an EDI document and turn it into a PDF, and the customer doesn't know that because they don't need to know that. And then on the reverse, they've got some magic that turns a PDF back into an EDI document and sends it back. So it can be, there's a lot of different ways to get around it. It's not very fun, and none of them are automated and quick. Right? They're all very painful. So automation is key, and it sounds overwhelming and terrifying. But if you have a team behind you who knows how it works and all the weirdness of things, it's not as overwhelming as it could be.
Yeah, amazing. So I don't know, if you have more for the presentation. I mean, I can keep asking questions. I got a million questions.
I'm going to segue towards Ali. So I was just making sure before I did that. So operational improvements are achievable, but investment is often the barrier, which is why we have Ali along for the ride. So there was my questions. Here's a quick slide. Just on how to get a hold of me personally and our company. And then off to Ali.
Thank you, Tanya. And I don't know about everyone else, but I definitely am sold on ERP systems. No. So again, I'm Ali from Grant Synergy. Tanya, thank you so much for your presentation. So today, what I want to do is talk about some government funding that's available that directly can support the purchase, implementation, training, and subscription, if there's subscription costs for ERP systems. You can go to the next slide there, Tanya. So the first one I want to talk about, and the one that I'm going to focus on in most detail here, is called the Ontario Automotive Modernization Program, or OAMP. So this program, what it is meant for is to help modernize Ontario's automotive supply chain to make it more competitive and responsive to the changing needs of its customers. As Tanya mentioned, lots of changing needs of customers. And of course, as I'm sure everyone is feeling and knows very well the changing of the world, and tariffs and impacts and all of that. So this program, you can receive up to 50% of eligible costs to a maximum of $150,000 grant. So grant being non-repayable. What we suggest to our clients is to aim for a $300,000 budget to maximize your grant return. I'll get into the timeline of it, but the eligible applicants, so, an Ontario small to medium enterprise in the automotive supply chain to OEMs. So if you supply machinery, software, or any components, you have to have at least 30% of total revenues generated from the automotive supply sector. So if you are in other sectors, that's completely fine, as long as you meet that minimum of 30%. You have to have less than 500 employees in Ontario and less than 1 billion consolidated global revenues. So again, this is a program that is focused on small to medium enterprises. Aftermarket part industry, they're not eligible. However, companies who are supplying products, components, software, technologies for EVs or EV battery components are eligible for this program. You have to have a minimum of 2 years of financial statements, and you must have a manufacturing location in Ontario by the time your project starts. You can go to the next slide there. So what type of expenses are eligible for this program? So you can buy hardware or software. We've seen equipment purchases, additions to people's manufacturing lines. We've had those approved. But one of the biggest ones we do see and put through this program are ERP systems. And again, it includes the software licensing costs for the duration of the project. It includes implementation costs, and it can include training costs as well. You also can include any materials. They may be eligible if they directly relate to the software implementation. Labor, if you have someone who is in charge of implementing the ERP system, who's on staff, you can cap 10% of the project budget can be towards labor. And another thing this program focuses on a lot is lean manufacturing, so lean training and any consultant costs as well. Some ineligible expenses, so infrastructure costs, so nothing for building or your facilities, capital costs of no vehicles or equipment, and no research and development as well. So really important here is the timeline on this. So this intake is open from March 4th and closes April 16th. So the closing date is right around the corner. You have to hold off incurring expenses until the intake closes. So anything after April 16th can be a part of your project budget at your own risk. You can start spending as soon as, on April 17th, if you'd like. The project can go for 2 years in duration, but we really do recommend just creating the project timeline for a 1-year period, because this has been a reoccurring program that opens up every year. You can't have multiple projects on the go at the same time. So you have to have your last OAMP needs to be finished before you can reapply for a new OAMP. So just some strategy on that one there for you. We've had a lot of success. That's great. Thank you for switching. We've had a lot of success with this program. So a few things just about us at Grant Synergy. So we have over 25 years of combined experience helping Canadian businesses access government funding. We have a 93% success rate securing grants and incentives for our clients. I would say, honestly, that percentage is higher for OAMP. We really do have a lot of success year over year with this program. We've secured over $530 million in funds for our clients, assisted 900 plus companies across diverse industries. And we have expertise in funding areas. And this is typically where government funding lands in general is capital expansion, hiring and training, exporting, or R&D. And really, we're trusted advisors, strategic partners, as I mentioned, that really are just aiming to simplify the complex funding landscapes. Government funding is always changing, and so it's our job to keep our finger on that pulse. You can go to the next slide there, Tanya. So why people work with us? I mean, we tailor our processes to your business. So we analyze your operational challenges and partner with you to source the right incentives and that best support your growth, your productivity, and capital investment. As much as we possibly can, we work on a risk mitigated cost model. So we have a success-based structure. So we take a percentage of the amount you're awarded. If you're not awarded anything, then we don't get paid. So your interests are aligned with our interests as well. We have a vast experience and expertise to navigate the complex programs, the eligibility criteria, and the timelines. Government funding, we have valuable relationships with government funding reps and advisors. So, we ensure that your project is a good fit before we go ahead and submit or write an application. We really want to make sure that everyone is set up for success. And again, the timelines are one of the biggest factors here with government funding because intake windows come and go, and you really do have to sort of be proactive in nature. So, we can bring programs to you. We can bring timelines to you to get the juices flowing. And we provide full life cycle support. So from the initial eligibility assessment through to the writing and submission of the application on your behalf and any compliance or due diligence that come along the way after the application is submitted until a funding decision is reached. So we really try and streamline the process as much as possible because one of the biggest, reasons I think people don't apply for government funding is because they don't have time to go through that process. So we really try and take the onus off and burden off your internal team. So you can go to the next slide, just a quick client success story for you. So we are working with, and we have been working with an automotive manufacturing company. They're a CNC machining manufacturer in Ontario in the automotive sector. And over the last 2 years, we've secured them $1.2 million in government funding. So just to break that down in funding, so $907,000 in capital expansion and equipment upgrades. We've had $200,000 in technology adoptions, including the ERP system. We've had $120,000 awarded to them for staff training initiatives. And right now we're currently waiting for another $250,000. We're waiting for an approval or funding decision on that one. So the point of this is once you're a client, you're always a client of ours. So, we're going to help navigate programs to see what can be stacked together. Again, if new programs open up or close, we're going to be there to really try and maximize, your government funding potential. So that's pretty well what I have to cover for today. I do just want to mention as well, I was focusing mostly on the OAMP program. But what I want to say is that right now, the automotive sector is a big, big priority sector for both the federal and provincial government when it comes to government funding. So there are quite a few programs out there that are available. A couple that are larger capital expansion programs. The government really wants to help businesses continue to grow and expand even in these, uncertain and challenging times that are available, or that are happening, I should say. So they're really prioritizing that. So these programs are meant to help you, invest in new equipment, new technology, new software. They're meant to help you adapt and rely on different markets besides, our friends in the States, and as well, reshore some activities back into Canada, explore new international markets, explore new markets that, might be beyond the automotive industry as well. We've had a client who, they had the capability to manufacture parts for automotives, but that same machine can do parts for the aerospace industry. So they are pivoting and trying to expand their offerings as well. So these type of programs, they're meant to be, larger investments. So it would be, an ERP system could be something that's included in those larger scale projects. But we'd be looking at larger investment than that as well, and a variety of other expenses and costs sort of thing. So I'd be happy to chat further about that with anybody who's interested. There are also a new training program that's available. It's a brand new program that'll cover third-party training costs for companies who are dealing with, I guess, they want to upskill employees so that job loss does not happen. So really helping to retrain and reskill, upskill in order for positions to be kept. So that's another program as well. So a training program there. There's also exporting programs that are open right now as well. Again, to help you sort of explore different markets throughout the world and reach a broader audience there. So there's lots more than OAMP going on, but again, OAMP is one of those things with that close deadline. And again, while I have everyone on the call, I mean, ultimately, if this is something that you'd be interested in, exploring with us, we would need to move on this immediately because we need at least a week to get this application written and submitted, and that's after we have all of the information we do need from you as well. So I just want to emphasize that, and if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to chat more.
So thank you so much for that. And you are right, Ali. I think the time is really critical, especially for this program. And I have no idea why they open it only for 2 months, because that's a really short window. I don't know if for any other grants this is applicable, but it's really short. Companies, I don't know. I mean, it takes a long time for them to know about these programs. And then if it is going to be only for 2 months, it's tricky. One thing that we get from our clients, okay, and I'm going to ask this question on behalf of our clients, I guess, right? Sometimes they are wondering, obviously, they don't want to pay the consulting fee even for these grant programs. That's their position for whatever reason, right? They don't necessarily understand, okay, how involved these applications are going to be. And that sort of ties back to your 93%. And I don't know if you are able to talk about some of the mistakes that companies make, but this is a very, very huge undertaking in creating the application, making sure that it's going to be compliant with the government standards. So maybe, I don't know if you are able to go back to the case study and talk about the day in the life scenario. What are the inputs and how much time are you going to require from the company, and what is going to be processed for applying for the grant?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a few questions in there, but one thing I want to say is that, I think some of the biggest mistakes that we see, people making when they're submitting applications on their own is really just incomplete and not providing enough detail in the application. So that's a big one. And then again, it's just really making sure you're in line with the eligibility criteria and you're in line with the program's priorities. And and it sounds simple enough, but unfortunately it just it doesn't happen. So I feel like that's the biggest mistake, and maybe it has to do with the fact too that people don't leave enough time for these applications to put the the time and energy that they really do require. So in terms of our process and how we try and streamline it for people is we send out what we call an initial info collect spreadsheet. So it's going to be basic information we need about your company, and kind of go through the eligibility criteria to make sure there's nothing hidden that would deem you ineligible. And then as well, there's a budget template. Those are the two basic things. Sometimes there can be other job creations or forecasts, or it can be a little bit more elaborate depending on the program. But for this one, and a budget, so what you're going to spend and when is what we're looking for. Once we have that, then we are able to send our service agreement. So that outlines our fee structures. And again, depending on the program, we do offer 3 different fee structures. So the first one is a flat fee, which is invoiced whether you're approved or not for the application. The second one is a base fee plus a contingency fee. So the base fee is invoiced once we start working on the application. The contingency fee is it's a percentage of the awarded amount, only invoiced if approved. Or we can do a full-blown just contingency fee. And the government has some rules around how we can charge people. The feds don't like us working on full contingency fees. So once that's signed, the info collect is back, then you are assigned a team lead from our ops team. So they'll hold a really quick kickoff meeting with you if need be to learn more about what it is you're doing, your business, and then they'll get to writing the application. Depending on the application and the complexity and all of that, we'll send it away to our program advisor contacts for them to review and provide us with feedback. And then once we have all of that stuff together, we send it back to you for your final review. Along the way, and again, very program dependent, we may need some numbers from you or projections from you or articles of incorporation. These are the type of things that we can't make up. So there is a little bit of work on the client's end, but we really do try and streamline it. So, provide you with the spreadsheets to give us the information with what we need. And then again, so once we get the green light from you, we will submit the application on your behalf. And sometimes that requires creating additional portal accounts or going to get a tax certification verification document. So really any of that stuff, we try and do that as much as we possibly can for you. And again, once the application is submitted, then any contact that the program, any email contact they have with you, we ask you to forward us those emails, and we will draft a response on your behalf for you to send them back to the program. And then if there's any meetings or due diligence, we're there to support you. So, the programs want to work with the applicant themselves, but we can still be there to support you through that. So that's our process.
Yeah, so let's zoom in on the OAMP a little bit more. So let's say if somebody is not familiar with the process, and if they have questions about that, and they don't know if this is going to be some sort of contingent approval for each of the phases that you had mentioned, that would be my assumption based on my familiarity with DMAP. So do you have to submit the whole plan when you start with the program, and then you have to revise, because obviously the assumptions and context, that is probably going to change as you go through the program, and that's a fairly long program, I guess, for 2 years, right? So they are not going to give you like $1 million right away, and then and obviously you have to report as well. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yep, absolutely. So I will tell you part of the OAMP process as well, before a funding decision is reached. So they've received your application. They actually require they'll hold a meeting with you where you do a PowerPoint presentation to talk about your project and what it's going to lead to, the economic impacts and the benefits to your business and the economy in general. So that's another thing that we'll do, is prepare that slideshow for you. And then once a funding decision is reached, it works on a reimbursement type of process. So you submit claims, and then you're reimbursed up to the $150,000 grant. So, and again, so if the ERP, there's a large portion, $100,000 of your 150,000 come out right away. You reimburse and you submit your claim and then reimburse that. So there's a program rep that you work with throughout the duration of your project. If things come up along the way, if for whatever reason you have to pivot or change, or the timing's not working out, or anything like that, you have to communicate that to your project or your program rep. And there is some flexibility around that. So, they will grant extensions in terms of timing. We've had some people change, the equipment or technology they're purchasing. It's a little harder sell on that one, but as long as it's leading to the same sort of impacts that they want to see, so job creation or increased revenue, whatever, they're generally they'll work with you once you're approved. They want to see the project through. So yeah, that's the way this process works.
Okay, amazing. So we have one question from the audience I'm going to read, and I think this is going to be for Tanya. So this is from Ashley. Ashley is asking, what's the first step you recommend for a company that knows they need to improve, but is not sure where to start? And I don't know if this is for OM or, for ERP-EDI sort of initiative. Ashley, if you want to clarify, you can clarify that. But both of you can respond, I guess, on this.
Yeah. For the first step is to find a partner who can help guide you through that. Trying to do that on your own without the expertise behind you is going to be challenging, and you're probably not going to end at the right place. And so finding a partner who can help you is probably the most important first step that you can take in that. And how do you do that? Well, talk to people. Find out who they've worked with before. Well, you can work with us or Sam, all of that. I'm definitely saying that, but make sure you're getting the right partner is the bottom line to that.
Or Ellie. I mean, she's an amazing
Or
partner
Allie.
as well. So.
Right. Yes. Allie too. Of course.
Get the funding and then talk to your partners. We'll just put that in we'll outline that when the cost to be included. It'll just be a little later.
For sure.
Okay, so all right. So I don't know if that answers your question, Ashley. If anybody else has any other questions, we can wait for maybe a minute. If you guys have any sort of closing thoughts, Tanya or Ellie, we can cover that, and then finally we can wrap, I guess. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions. Tanya, do you want to bring the slide that you had for your QR code so that people can scan towards the end as well if they want to?
Yes.
They should probably be on the same slide. I'm sorry, guys. If you want Ellie's information, we can bring that again. So if you guys want to scan this, and I don't know, I mean, I always joke about this. Probably they are getting $5,000 check here. What are they getting after scanning?
Right. There's a free EDI guide. It's a pretty high level, but it can start the conversations for your business to decide whether it's time to automate. And again, I am more than happy to talk to anybody anytime. I like to talk. You might know that about me by now. So please reach out. We'll talk. I'll help guide you. I'm more than happy to do that.
You're amazing, Tanya. So thank you so much once again, guys, for your time and insights today. This was extremely helpful, and hopefully that can help our automotive community. If you are interested in exploring this grant, obviously the time is very limited. So you can reach out to any of us or Ellie. I mean, we can help you get in touch with their team. They are amazing. They do a wonderful job. Don't try to do this yourself, okay? Just don't do it, because again, you are going to waste time and you are probably not going to get anything out of it. So that's a wrap, guys. Again, this was our joint webinar series in which we invite many different friends from the community. Our goal is to teach you on different options available, whether it is going to be enterprise software community or any sort of funding options available. All of those are going to be relevant for your project decisions. We have many different series available. If you want to check about them, the best place would be events and webinar page on elevate.iq.com or our newsletter. You can subscribe to that. On that note, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.